world where boundaries blur between reality and fiction, with Mikhail Gorbachev leading the charge. Gorbachev didn't just challenge political norms, he dared to break the fourth wall in storytelling. "Tear down that fourth wall," he exclaimed, inviting us into a new era of engagement. His metaphorical call wasn't for Berlin alone. It was a clarion call to storytellers and audiences alike. Engage directly, break barriers, and foster a dialogue. Gorbachev's words echo in the halls of creativity. As storytellers, it's our turn to tear down that fourth wall, inspired by Gorbachev's daring challenge. Join us in this creative revolution. Tear down the walls that confine your stories. Share, like, and subscribe for more inspiration.
Okay, welcome. This is a Fringe encounter, and much like in that AI-generated Gorbachev segment, the German dragon has broken down barriers, established communications, and fostered a dialogue. He fostered this dialogue with some guy named Marvin I know nothing about, which makes up for me knowing a little about Clara in the last one. People love it. But here's Marvin for the first time meeting GrimGriz.
Yes, hello. So to introduce myself, I'm the co-founder of the German Dragon. And maybe I just explain how we met. So he made his videos about being or playing the philosophical chief or the chief philosophical officer of Twitter. And he talked about how to make Twitter better, basically, and that Elon Musk should hire him. And of course, in his very, interesting style, you already know. And then I joined his Discord server and basically wrote another guy who was managing the Discord server and also directly at him that it won't work. So you cannot just take over Twitter and make it better. What is kind of funny that Elon Musk tried to do it, actually. And what I said is like, look, I am also working on some kind of alternative social network since I left school, because it was for me at the time the obvious next step. So a political network which is actually not optimized for shareholder value, but for some kind of, you could say the greater good. And then we joined our forces and had some kind of dialogue about how a perfect media platform actually looks like. And we had this dialogue for 11 months. And here we are. Basically, I'm building it, so I'm technical. I can do the coding, and he provides some funding. And of course, we develop together the concepts and the ideas. And this is how I met him.
All right. And question one is, can we play on it yet?
No, not yet. So it was a long way to discover what we actually want to build. So we had a lot of ideas, which we explored in dialogue and also in a few prototypes, which actually led nowhere. So we had once we had this idea of everything needs to be a dialogue, like some kind of structured dialogue where you can create the conversation in text, and then you have specific rules set at the start. For example, always answer in this length and only like 5, or you need to at least wait 30 minutes until you can answer again, and so on. But after a lot of play around with a lot of concepts like this, we end up with the idea that you need actually a platform which allows the user to define his own way of communication. So we end up with a much more flexible way. And this is what we're currently building. And the final evolutionary, like the final evolution of the idea happened actually when we met the first time in real life. So and now I think it's like
now you go into that story. The revolution that was made when you first met. So now you start telling the story of when you first met.
Yes, it was a few weeks ago at my place. So he is in middle Germany, and I'm in northern Germany, and so we had all this discussion over the internet, and yeah, then we met at my place and had like 1 week of just brainstorming and working on ideas together, and then we end up with the concept which I am now building, and which we hopefully can enroll or roll out maybe in a month, probably.
Well, that's an historic moment, and so it's got to be scripted and filmed and shot now. I see it like with Brandy in front of a fireplace, and like one of you says, "Gadzooks, man!" And whenever you make a big founding discovery, can you please duck down about 6 inches?
Like this?
Yes, it says Keck above your head and has some weird symbols, and there's also a pug.
Yes.
Explain those to the people now.
Okay, yeah. I just enjoy the meme culture, and so I got from a girlfriend the wooden letters Keck, which I just I mean somebody do their names with them or whatever, and I just thought yeah. Or my girlfriend thought it was really funny, and the pictures actually I have drawn, or I tried to draw my philosophical discoveries after I was inspired to draw by actually Jordan Peterson. So I'm also a big fan of him, and enjoyer of his works.
And the pug?
I just like the dogs. I just like pugs, and it's sometime in the future I want to have one. So
That's a dream pug. You don't even have one yet. All right.
I don't have one yet, but you need dreams, right?
So, what does Keck mean to you?
Well,
and you can come back up those 6 inches now. It's just.
Yes, actually, it means to me the kind of playful attitude towards the obscenity that is our life. So when I grew up, everything was fairly normal, and I left school 2015 when the world was kind of in order from my kind of okayish upbringing perspective.
Before that big real estate scam we had over here. So yeah.
yeah. In Germany, we didn't have a real estate scam, but of course, 2015, there was the migrant crisis and all of this stuff. But actually, I don't even really recognize it. But really, it hit with Corona, and after, of course, the pandemic. Then the Ukraine war started, which was a much more surreal thing here in Europe, because it's kind of one country away. So it's like two borders between, and then you have actually fighting on the scale of the Second World War in Europe again.
I do cards sometimes. Don't mind it. I did want to tell you to talk about Keck for a second. You were getting there, I think, but
yes, I would link it with this craziness that basically crept up since, I don't know, maybe 2010, or I can't exactly pin it down because I was too young then, but it has increased over the time, and there is this kind of cynical / playful attitude towards it to actually not take it too seriously.
Okay, but what if I told you that there was an Egyptian frog god of chaos that was named Keck? And what if I told you that there was one named Seshat who held the rod of kings, and at the bottom of the rod of kings was Keck Omega?
I didn't dug down that deep into the concept, but it's kind of fun. So I know a little bit about all this kind of Kekistani lore, which I think in part is inspired by this historical stuff, and also kind of has this weird Nazi history woven into it. So it's kind of a meme on reality by the internet. So this is how I understand it. And yeah, I also sometimes stream the programming that I do, and I needed some kind of nice background. I needed a nice background, and so. But yeah,
it's like there's of those things they call the Platonic ideals, and then the Jungian archetypes and whatnot.
Yes.
It's those things bubbling up more than. I think it's more emergent than top down. The involvement, the correlation and stuff.
Yes, this is also an interesting point. Like CAC, in some sense, is an emergent behavior in the internet, or this whole like Kakistani lore, or this like subculture. Of course, there are like far right elements in it, but there are like a lot of different. It's kind of an expression of our society and also of the soul of the Gen Z, I would say. Which is not allowed into mainstream media because you're basically getting this very totalitarian networks which basically force some kind of existential structure on your mind, and stuff like 4chan, where all this Kakistani evolution originated, in a sense, is more like the artistic freedom where the real soul actually can express itself. And of course, in some sense, the real soul, if you know, like all this Kakistani memes, in some ways a little.
Not all of them. I have a favorite one, but I don't keep up.
But they are sometimes a little bit ugly, a little bit over the top, but they are in some sense an expression of a Jungian dark, or like a Jungian shadow, if you will. And what you see, for example, in Europe, we now have a shift to the right, especially in young people. And
you gotta watch that left-right stuff, man. It's the same fucking bird.
But it's kind of interesting because you could anticipate kind of right backlash to the default culture based on this kind of internet memery. Like it's the art has foreshadowed the cultural development in a sense. And I mean, this is what I personally connect with all of this CAC and internet meme stuff, and it's incredibly interesting. But yeah, and the obscenity, as I call it, of our now reality is that I guess since 2000, as far as I can tell, the internet has cooked away our, I would say, shared model of reality, and has replaced it with a new top-down totalitarian or total anarchical, like, for example, 4chan, way of ordering the world, which is basically not an ordering at all. It's like a disorder. It's like
a discord, perhaps.
Yes, it created some kind of discord, which is interesting that we using all the platform Discord, which is
everybody's participating, and Tencent owns it. It's going to be China's new what they're training China's new LLM on. It's going to be fascinating. But
yeah, we're kind
I bring it up because you're talking about I want to swing back to the social platform you're developing.
Yeah.
What I need from a social platform is my Discord to have a front end that exists on the same platform that the regular user gets its feed from. So like my Discord outputting directly to the platform. One of the things that has been deep in my mind with regards to the future of social networking is that the way the thing, like, once upon a time before Google, they were trying to organize everything like they did phone books and in categories.
Mm-hmm.
And then Google found the whole, like, we can do the search cloud thing, and that helps people find helps people find the information. the next revolution is like the information finding people. And the way I've thought of to engineer that into a social network is that each user does data sorting based on the category of knowledge it is to them personally. Like, and I broke it into three. Like, they get three different ways they can sort it into. I call it uck, isk, and yisk, because why not? But it's useful common knowledge is one category. I should know this, so like, thank you I needed to know this. Thank you. And you should know, which is like you share it outward towards somebody. And then if it lands in them and they're like, yes, I should know this, or it's just useful common knowledge, or I guess we need to know this is bullshit category, right? But if each node is sorting the data on how relevant that data is to them, then that facilitates the flow of relevant data to relevant nodes.
Yes, this is kind of similar what we are actually trying to do. It's not exactly the same, but we want to actually empower the individual to control his own algorithm and to be able to create some kind of attention hierarchy, like some kind of hierarchical tree, and then being able to merge these trees with other persons. So because if you go on one level above this, what you really want is a social network in which some kind of institution can form, a new institution. Because how I see it is that since 2000, the internet has increased the speed of communication, the communication frequency, to such an extent that all communication protocols, or like all communicational institutions, like the church, the family, some kind of social clubs, the local community, everything is broken apart, has fallen apart, because it cannot stand the communicational frequency or the heat, and only these social networks are left. And so what I personally see is that the only way we can get back to some kind of sanity, really, like what we need evolutionary as people, if we get a social network in which you have a process that totally new protocols of communication can emerge, which are not dictated by the owner or like the creator of the platform, but which are also not total anarchy. So you want some kind of re-emergent or like emergent institutions, and this is what we aim for. That it's not just individuals sorting, but also individuals sorting joined, and then you get some kind of meta sorting. For example, you are interested, or like you're creating some kind of collection of content for some kind of whatever, politics, or I don't know, it really doesn't matter, whatever topic. And then different people are doing this, and then you want people who are looking at all of the content collected by all of these people and trying to merge it together. This is what the German dragon it calls poetic. So this idea of bringing all of these informations into like merging it together into some kind of higher form, and then you can play this.
What's the mechanism of your merge?
The mechanism of a merge is just that you need some kind of value process, like you need some kind of connection between the real world, like where your attention is limited, so you have a limited amount of attention, and the actual network. And if you have a network in which you can basically create whatever order you want, but it is connected via some kind of currency to the real world attention via money or time or whatever, then you can basically get a situation where by default, at some point, people will think, well, I need the most important. And then there is basically a market for people creating more important stuff. And if you provide no central algorithm, but only this currency, you end up with some kind, we hope at least, that you will end up with these people who try to create the most important representations, because you don't have a lot of time. So you don't want some sub-representation, you want the most important one. And you're really willing to pay for the best, most important representations. This is how we currently think about it. It's not 100% developed. This is the reason why we cannot play around with it. And if you
like other crypto social projects, have you
it's not crypto. Yes, I understand, but crypto has 2 problems. One is that it's technically hard to do, and it's hard for you to use because you need some kind of wallet and you have all this kind of cryptographic processes. But if you want a social network to succeed, you basically need to minimize the friction. And on the other hand, the crypto guys, as far as I can tell, think anarchic. Like they think in a way that they seem to have bought this idea that the individual is enough for reality to work, basically. You don't need anything else than an individual. And this actually does not work. So you need, what we propose is a central database, but a decentralized interface to the database. So imagine you can program your own Twitter feed, basically. Of course, it's a little bit different than that, but this is a kind of a good approximation to what we try to do. And then at some point to decentralized ownership is also a plan we have. But it is really about this idea of creating new institutions. And it seems that crypto has not worked. I don't know, because there are a lot of social networks based on crypto, but none of them has actually worked out, I would say. Or people are on TikTok. They are not on I don't know, Blue Sky or whatever.
I quit paying attention a while ago, but I was there when they were experimenting with it, and it's the profit motive turns everything to shit usually. Because the way you tie money to it has to be so ungameable that
you're right.
Problem to solve.
The profit,
because I think the issue is it's a profile. You're making a profile on a place. So unless you're getting tied to actual human heartbeats, you can have an infinite number that aren't actually people taking advantage of the mechanics, whatever mechanics you install in the system.
And this is the interesting point. I mean, you're probably right. Every game can be gamed. So what is the answer? What is the answer for the game that cannot be gamed? And it's kind of counterintuitive, but the idea is to allow infinity ways of gaming it or playing the game. Imagine this. Okay, if you create strong rules, which all social networks are based on strong rules for what you can do, what you can post, how you can post, what blah blah blah. If you create a network which is basically you can do whatever you want, as long as you can actually code it and it is not a big security risk, you solve this problem. Because now I can game it. But if you see I game your server, you can improve your server. If there is a new way of gaming the system can evolve. It's like a living body. You basically need to design not a machine but a living system, because what you really want to capture with a social network is the nervous system of the society. So you're not trying to build a machine. People, and this is the reason why Silicon Valley cannot build social networks that actually not destroy society, because they have this mechanistic mindset. They build machines. They build attention channeling machines, while the society is a living organism which actually needs some kind of living nervous system. And this is basically, and what Web 2 did, because Web 1 was this living nervous system. It's like there was like people who created pages and linked to other pages. And this was the way of navigating this nervous system. And what Google did is basically it said, well, fuck all those guys, basically. We just have like one system, one algorithm, and you can buy, of course, attention in this algorithm, and we optimize this algorithm however we want. And now in the 2020s, it's politically captured. So the algorithm is like, okay, you're doing you're saying stuff, or your content is not in line with our political viewpoint, whatever we have. So you are not there. And this is basically just a machine controlled by a few people. And I think it's the same reason why the UdSSR collapsed. The USSR. The UdSSR is the German way of saying it. But now you have like a few people in a room deciding how the algorithm works. But what you actually need is you need like 1 million algorithms which can hook into each other, and where you have a living system. So we don't know how our social network will look in like 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. Because what we actually try to build is this kind of nervous system which can evolve. And this fixes the problem with the monetary problem, because in the moment somebody tries to game your system, you can counteract it. So, for example, imagine you are on Twitter and you can program the algorithm, and there are all now people are just posting random stuff, or like bad stuff, or some event happens, and people are starting to misusing this event to gain some kind of political gain, for example. You can now program like a different point of view. You can program different filters to try to prevent it. You can basically, the truth can find a way to destroy the lie, or like to circumvent the lie. So you don't need to. And what the global networks now do is they try to actually destroy the lie. But by destroying the lie, the whole thing turns into a lie. Because now it's like, yeah, what people in the boardroom of Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever think, or what they are made to think, will appear on your feed, or TikTok or whatever. And you cannot create a platform without lies, but you can create a platform where the truth can evolve, so that it can actually fight against it and hopefully win just by Darwinian selection. This is, I mean, it's a lot of concepts. So
yeah, I don't like the mechanism. The concept is great, but how is where I'm at with it. But you know, I mean, I'm not a developer, or I just think of. I don't do.
Yeah,
make things, so.
I wouldn't want to say too much about how, but I guess in a few weeks, maybe 1 month, maybe 2 months, I don't know how long I need. But the idea is actually to create basically, to put it very simple, what you really want is you want a central database with a programmable interface, so that you own the code of the algorithm, and you can treat the code of the algorithm itself as content. So there's no difference between you share your post, or you share your algorithm, or your filter, or your communication configuration. So you're basically sharing code. It's like a programming platform in a way. And this way you get the flexibility you need.
What I need out of a platform is for me to make video content, and then for it to edit and format that content for distribution on that other platform. You know, does that make sense to you? As a content creator, as a person who makes posts, I need a blanket interface that I just make it how I make it, whatever, raw, and then I need like the minion bots to like ship it up and like to box it up and ship it out to the specifications of the other network platforms.
Yeah, well, with this is I think this is a different problem, and I personally think that the whole idea is to make the other platforms relevant.
Isn't the notion that every node on the network is capable of production? It's not there's no differentiation between consumer nodes and producer nodes because of the evolution of the means of production. Like I have a camera, microphone, and a browser, and we can do this now as far as production. So, I just don't think it's a different problem. I think it's half of the interface you might not have realized we need, but I think that, I mean, even if I'm not shipping it off anywhere.
In a sense, it actually, so in a sense, it would work like I would create some kind of, like people would have some kind of filter, which they have built themselves or they have clicked together, which is built by other people. Like you don't code all your software. You use software by other people, and this is the same basically. You have a plugin system, and
here's
this,
my axiomatic presuppositions. I got them from my church. They said install these.
Yes, for example, yes, you can imagine you have basically your church providing here is godly content, but you can also think like, look, for example, you want to have an interview. Like we want to have a conversation, and we are trying now to fit each other's mental space in some sense. Like we try to understand each other, but with this kind of network, I can send you my filter, and you can send me your filter, and we can actually have a look into the mind of the other person in a sense, for example. And the whole point is that the filter actually, like in some sense, it would work like how you want. Like you would upload some content somewhere in the network, and my filter actually has this global database which it can access, and then the filter can, which is a kind of more complicated technical problem, but we don't need to get into this, can actually search this database and pull out the content that I need, which I decided for myself that I want and I need, and can present it to me. So, so in a sense, it takes the distribution problem away from the network owner to the person who is actually consuming it, or to the consumer.
Yeah, but at least one of those streams is going to have to be like stuff my friends thought I would want to see, like shared with me as an incoming stream that you can turn on and off as part of your filtering. But that's going to have to be one of the incoming streams, right?
Where you don't need to think about. I don't think about it as a stream. I think about it as a pool. So you have like a giant pool of content, and everybody is just throwing stuff into this pool, into this, yeah, basically.
Right, I'm saying, but one of the functions of the social part of the social network is me being able to say like, "Yo, Marvin, this is hot." And
yes, for example, you can do this, but the point is, I don't care about it because I offer you the ability to code all of this yourself. So you can create all kinds of social interactions which you want. The idea is that we don't say how the social interactions will work. So we get a Darwinian selection of all kinds of social interactions, because the whole point, which we arrived after like 11 months of trying to create the perfect communication network, the whole point is there is no perfect communication network that works for every community. Like communities are so diverse in their communicational patterns that you actually need a solution which is very dynamic. And your community needs a different communication pattern than the Catholic Church, for example. Just a dumb example. But you can imagine this. And if you're a political party, you have different communication patterns than if you are just a group of gamers chilling around. And so there is no perfect communication for everybody. Like you have different ways of communication, and they also evolve. For example, with the occurrence of AI, or with some kind, for example, a pandemic happens. Like whom should we trust? this is a new problem for the society. Like everybody is talking something. Whom do you should listen to? Like, and the social networks basically had no answer. At some point, they just all.
No, the social networks had plenty of an answer.
Yeah, but they arrived at an answer after the state said it's illegal to think otherwise. And then all the social networks basically did what the state told them to do. It was a total top-down solution. Now, if you're talking about some kind of whatever topic, you get this small text beneath the video where it says like, "Look, this word that means this and this and this." So it's a top-down solution. And what you really want is that if a new crisis, whatever the crisis actually is, because at the start of a crisis you don't know what the crisis is, you want the society to actually evolve a way to deal with it from bottom up and not top down. And this is not possible, and this will be possible. So this is basically how we think about it.
Well, one coder is a terribly small team. So, what are your thoughts in that direction? I mean,
if your network
to keep up, right?
If your network does not define the means of communication, I am not the person who needs to think about how communication will work. Other people can just put in their communication code. So I'm just a person who provides a sandbox for other people to express their own thoughts, like their own communication ideals. And then you have this gigantic sandbox, this gigantic kind of free market where all kinds of communication patterns fight against each other. And then you have Darwinian selection. I mean, and the beautiful thing is, in the internet, you actually have a free market if you want to have one. Because you can create as much code structures as you want. Like there's no limit to how many Discord servers, for example, there can be. So you can imagine a sandbox where imagine Discord would be fully programmable and everybody can update it like crazy. You can set your own rules, you can collect your own information, you can say, okay, you need to wait like so long to reply, or everything needs to be referenced to some kind of Wikipedia link. I don't know, whatever you want. And then
you can make one that drains everybody's personal information and assets and sell it as a easy startup kit for somebody who wants to do all this stuff.
Yeah. Of course, you need to make it so secure in a way that this kind of stuff cannot happen. But if you imagine you have like all these Discord servers in one big network and they're all linked together and you can just filter them and you can search them and you can rank them and you can do whatever you want because it's codable, you can do whatever you want. Then you can basically
social network. Then you get, but you make this giant sandbox, like who makes the spice extraction units? Who's mining all the data that you put in the sandbox? What are you doing with that?
We actually don't think we mine the data. So what we think is this is kind of an idealistic project. It is, of course, a company because we need to eat and so on. But it's idealistic. So we don't want to create maximum shareholder value. We don't actually want to have shareholders. And so we don't aim to actually
like you could trade
monetize
this language model based on what's in the sandbox, right? You could, what are they doing with the data, and which of those things are you going to do, and which ones?
Yeah, but you can then imagine why if you train a large language model on the data, before you do this, you need to order the data by quality, and therefore you can just pay the people who contributed the content of the highest quality, or maybe the ordering of the quality, and you can pay them. So you can even democratize the monetary gains of this large language model. We think, look, this is not a network which nobody else can build. Like, I'm one dumb guy sitting around in this, not basement, like I'm in the 4th floor, but it's like one dumb guy building this. So everybody can build this. With a team of 5 guys, you can build this in a matter of weeks. No problem. But the point really is, at some point, you get exactly to this question: how to monetize it. And what we think the person or like the company will win that redistributes most of its profits back to the actual producers of the value in the platform. And our current idea is that we basically redistribute so like 99% of all profits or whatever. We're not exactly sure on it, but this is the let's say the idea how to stay competitive, not to be greedy and not to take shareholders in, which will make you optimize for. This is the reason why I said you cannot do it with Twitter. You cannot fix Twitter. You cannot fix any social network, because all of them are structured as shareholder value optimizing golems, like in the Jewish tradition of the word, like this entity which starts to live but has no soul, which is a company, like a big company is basically this, like this kind of organism which does not live, but it acts and it consumes and it tries to make itself bigger. And Google and Facebook and so on, they are these kind of out of control organisms. Which
corporations are dragons because they're only serving the bottom chakra. You have to have something at least. It's got to be past the reptilian chakra. But maybe
no idea.
Wanted us to talk because what you're trying to do on a huge brand new social network, I need to do on my Discord. We have these little. Everybody uses an emoji to give each other currency, but we haven't done the back end part yet of like scraping who gets what, who's been awarded what currency, and then tying that to an income stream for distribution. And so, like, the channel memberships are a set amount. So, like, say I want to turn the YouTube channel memberships to go into a fund, and then that fund pulses out when something comes in to the people who have received the 7 indigo emojis on the Discord. Is that level of coding like something 1 to 3 people could handle? And what do you think about that notion?
I don't know exactly how complex it is to code some kind of Discord bot in the backend, but I think a lot, like, it does not sound too complicated because all of the services offer APIs, so you can hook into them. I don't know, a few people, maybe even one person can do it. I don't think it's that complicated, actually.
And that's sort of what you were talking about on how your network intends to kick the revenue back into the content creators?
Yes, exactly. Because so we have basically these 2 ideas to stay competitive. Like, one is, it sounds a little bit funny, but one is offer maximum freedom to express yourself, and therefore to strive to the highest ideal. And the other idea is to be maximum idealistic, and this basically allows us to be competitive against companies with much higher resources, because, like, I mean, if you have like $1 million, you can hire like 5 people building the network in like a minute, basically, or like such a sandbox in a minute. The crazy point is, why has nobody done this? Like, why has nobody thought about? I mean, I don't know. Do you know Roblox?
I'm familiar with what it used to be, and heard it has evolved since, but.
Yeah, but I mean, just the concept, this idea, you have like this kind of basic world, this basic connectedness, like this giant database, and then you can code your own games on it. And this is the same just for a social network. Why has nobody done it? Because if the moment you start to optimize for shareholder value, the whole system falls apart, because the temptation to actually not allow total freedom is too big. It's like Facebook is much better off, basically, not allowing a lot of freedom and just controlling the algorithm perfectly. And so this is kind of how we try to be competitive.
So what else is going on? You got kids? How old are you? You out of school?
I'm turning 27 now. I have not no kids yet. I left school like with 17. I tried to study or like go to high school. I think it's the American equivalent, but I've never finished anything. So I have no degree in anything. I'm just self-taught and kind of a misfit in this regard and not fitting into any kind of this structure. But on the other hand, since I have left school, everything went so far, so downhill, that I personally think we are heading towards some kind of, if not revolution, but an evolution to a new system. So
New
we are.
species. They're injecting people with DNA modifying. Man, humanity's going through a change.
I mean, for me, it's not even that. Like personally, I think there are local evil people, like local conspiracies. But I feel that since 2000, actually, what's happened is not that there's a global conspiracy, but that basically the internet has improved the frequency and the temperature in the society so much, and so much communication is happening, and so much complexity was released, that basically all structuring order has dissolved, and now we are in this kind of perpetuous decay of everything. And of course there are local elites trying to make a buck out of it. For example, the social media companies, and I guess there are a lot of other companies and politicians and so on. But I don't think they haven't caused it. I think we are witnessing the self-induced death of civilization by the Faustian pact with not pact, like the Faustian contract with the devil. We have introduced so much technology which has increased the temperature of everything, so that all our but basically all community creating structures have dissolved, and now our society cannot function anymore. And you see the literal breakdown of everything in every regard. And if you would be the owner, so to speak, of Germany, of the United States, like you would not want your children to watch TikTok, because this will, in the long and in the midterm, degrade the ability to be a great power, which means that, like, you know what I mean, like,
Yeah, it's a weapon designed to erode the memory of a populace, and it comes from China.
Yes, but here you see, they actually use it as a weapon. Like, they use social media as a weapon, and our social medias, like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube with shorts, reels, they are copying the weapon. This is like crazy. I mean, how can a weapon designed from a state which wants to destroy us, like this kind of socialist, or really it's not socialist, like, but kind of capital fascism, cyber dystopian China state, they are developing a weapon which is incredibly effective for destroying our moral, our structure, and our will to fight, and our ability to fight in the long run. And our companies just copying the same weapon and doing the same. Like, maybe they are all bored. Maybe it's like a big conspiracy by China against the United States and the West at all.
Well, there's been Eric Schmidt's going over to North Korea. Who knows what goes on in those underground caves? We're just down here at the bottom getting squished by it all.
but I personally think that we're at a point in time where we need to think about a new order. In what I personally think with, I don't mean like new world order, but I mean in a sense of
No, you're just gonna get me put on a list with talk like that.
no. What I mean is that I mean, obviously the old way of structuring society is dissolving at a rate that probably will kill a lot of us just by destroying healthcare, destroying social services, destroying the ability to fight a war, by destroying the birth rate. Like everything is falling apart in every aspect in society, destroying education. And
But are you ready to go back to church yet? See,
this is the big problem with Jordan Peterson, I think, because he says, and I think he correctly states a lot of problems, and he has a great insight in Christianity, but he thinks we can go back to the Second Testament. I don't think so. I think we need to go to some kind of Third Testament, which is not yet written. Because my personal view on religion is that in the Jewish God, like the First Testament, we develop as a species the first time the idea that there is like some unified reality, like one God, which if you don't act accordingly to the rules, you're getting fucked over, like Nineveh, which is like the city, and you're not playing for the with the on the rules of God, so you're getting destroyed. This is like the Jewish God, and the Jewish people pretty much in this way embody evolution, because they say, look, there's this God, and everybody, like the whole world has some rules, and we need to oblige by this rule. And then there's like Jesus, and Jesus comes in and it's like, yeah, well, this is true, so we keep the First Testament, but you can also improve yourself. Jesus is basically self-improvement by being a moral, idealistic person, as far as I can tell. And
then he conquers death and gets resurrected.
What?
Then he conquers death and gets resurrected.
Yes, in a sense, like you, if you're self-improve, if you're moral, you can basically fight against the hell, fight against suffering, like you can redeem yourself and your community, whatever. And then basically what now has happened is with the death of God, with Nietzsche and so on, we basically lost our ways, and we have forgotten that there's a world with strong rules. And if you will, the woke people and all this kind of stuff, they are basically the New Testament without redemption and without the Old Testament, like without a real, like there's some kind of mystic cult or whatever, and they don't make sense. And what we really need, and John Peterson tries to go back to this kind of one testament, First and Second Testament together, and everything nice. But I feel that this is not possible. Like we cannot go back. For me, it feels we need some kind of new way of creating a new testament, a new way of interpreting our relation to reality or to existence.
Well, it's scary. It's scary to go down and rescue your father from the belly of the whale. But the thing is, you say like the breakdown of social services. And if you go far enough back before the state stole it, social services used to be administered through the loving touch and care of people in service to the church. Like all the hospitals used to be because the churches did them. And as the institutions that exist crumble, like say health insurance buckles for whatever reason, like the care that comes back is going to come back to the loving care of people at churches, and so we might need a new way of helping them and facilitating them and whatnot. But I think that's where it's going to go if healthcare at all remains, if human care at all remains.
I mean, this is an interesting, like you can point to this whole AI thing where they fantasize about like actively ending the human race. Like, what the fuck? But
Why wouldn't they?
because of being healthy humans, I guess. But they are not healthy
They're
humans, obviously.
transhumans. They have enmity. They're Gnostics who want to escape this existence.
Yes, exactly. So this is what I would say. Like, what is Gnosticism? This kind of, yeah. So you're right. Like they are just people who think their mind is more real than this world, and so they need to free their mind from the body and the world and so on, which is a heresy for the longest time of our civilization. But now it's basically state owned, no, not state owned propaganda, but kind of also, but also it's. What the state wants, which is kind of funny because the state is like the actual there's a German word for it, but I don't know. Like the reason for the state, it has a goal, and usually the goal of a state is to actually solve the problems of the people, like and try to procreate into the future, like that the people can live and have like all resources they need. But our state currently tries to actually eliminate the people, the underlying
the problems of the owners. Is they've switched. The government now solves the problem of the owners, and like it was just a matter of time once we had global corporations, because global corporation versus the government of Zimbabwe. Who's going to win that?
Yes, but an interesting point I also think a lot about is demographics, in the way that if you're I mean, in Europe it will happen earlier than in America, but we will basically implode demographically. So, like, most of our working age population is like 60, and they have no children. So once they go into retirement, it's basically over. It's like, yeah, well, back to Middle Ages. And what I think this will like decelerate. Like, I don't know if you're like familiar with Nick Land and so on. Oh, so his idea is that you basically get the fusion of technology and capital, and that the forces of capitalism and technology will accelerate each other, and this will result in a runaway effect, which will like destroy everything human, like the transhumanist idea basically. And my idea, or like my contra, would be, well, but what about most people just dying of old age and having no children? Like, where does your speed come from? Like all of your the fuel for this process is just gone. And personally, I think we are getting into some kind of like this is a tipping point of globalism, and globalism will not be the future, I personally think. And I don't think that we have even enough people and enough structure to maintain transhumanism a lot longer. So I don't think that transhumanism needs to be destroyed. I think it will, and maybe already has destroyed itself. So I personally focus more on the question of what do we do with the remnants of our civilization once the dust has settled, which will at some point in this century, and at some point in the century it will blow up. But maybe even not blow up. Maybe we will just die with a whimper, as Elon Musk said it. Like, if the birth rate is that small, we will not go out with a bang, but with a whimper. Maybe even before the sun eats the earth in like a billion years or whatever.
But in the meanwhile, we'll have Christmas and write each other letters and have meals together and attend events like the one in Olympia I'm briefly plugging. All right, Marvin, it was nice to meet you and have this fringe encounter with you. I'm sure we'll get feedback from our mutual friend and we'll go from there.
Nice. Okay, bye.
End recording.